Hello and welcome to this second part of our first quarter embassy performance report. In the first part, we identified the best performing embassies. They are the 25 embassies that issued the highest number of diversity visas during the first quarter of the DV 2023 program. In this second part, our task is to come up with the list of embassies that performed poorly during that same period. That is what we are doing in today's video. Now, in order to come up with the list of embassies that performed poorly during the first quarter of the DV 2023 program, two criteria were set. The first is that the embassy had to be one where many applicants are assigned. And then secondly, the embassy had to be one that did not issue any diversity visa during the first quarter of this year's program. So you see the reasoning there. An embassy that is expected to interview many cases during this year's program, but during the entire first quarter of the program, that embassy or those embassies did not issue any diversity visas. So that combination leads us to include such embassies on the list of embassies that performed poorly during the first quarter of this year's program. Now, as we did in the first part of this report, we will first present the embassies that performed poorly during the months of November and December 2022 based on the same criteria. And so, beginning with the month of November, the embassies that performed poorly based on our criteria set were as follows. In the Africa region, we have 3 countries where the embassies performed poorly during the month of November 2022. And those countries are Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Liberia. With an average or a high number of applicants assigned to these embassies, none of them issued any diversity visas during the month of November. For the Asia region, there are 2 embassies that performed poorly during the month of November according to our criteria set. They are the embassies in Nepal and Sri Lanka. Neither of them issued any diversity visa during the month of November 2022. For the Europe region, according to our criteria set, no embassy performed poorly during the month of November 2022. The same for the North America region, the same for the Oceania region, as well as the South America region. Now, for the month of December, in the Africa region, we have only one country where the embassy performed poorly, and that country is the Democratic Republic of Congo. For the Asia region, there's no country on our list of countries that performed poorly during the month of December. The same for the Europe region, as well as the North America, Oceania, and South America regions. And that takes us to our list of countries that performed poorly during the first quarter of the DV 2023 program. Beginning once again with the Africa region, we have only one country on our list of poorly performing countries according to our criteria set. And as was the case for the month of December 2022, once again it is the Democratic Republic of Congo. The embassy in the Democratic Republic of Congo has a high number of applicants assigned there from both that country and neighboring Republic of Congo. But throughout the first quarter of the DV 2023 program, that embassy did not issue any diversity visas at all. That is for the Africa region. Now, as was the case for the month of December 2022, there is no other region that has embassies on our list of embassies that performed poorly during the first quarter of the DV 2023 program. So, according to our criteria set, the U.S. Embassy in the Democratic Republic of Congo in the Africa region was the least performing embassy during the first quarter of the DV 2023 program. So that is our report on embassies that performed poorly during the first quarter of the DV 2023 program. Now, before we end, I would like to make a couple of comments. The first has to do with a number of embassies that were not taken into consideration in this report, either because they are not operating for political or security reasons, or they are operating but they are not interviewing immigrant visa applicants. Such is the case of embassies in Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, because of the ongoing crisis in that region, but also embassies in the Asia region, specifically in the Middle East, that are not operating or operating but not issuing immigrant visas. And such is the case of embassies in Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, etc. So we did not take those embassies into consideration when compiling this report. Another thing is that not all embassies with zero issuance are considered as having performed poorly during the first quarter. There are embassies that did not issue any diversity visas at all, but considering that the number of applicants assigned to such embassies is low, we did not consider that they performed poorly because, as we said in a previous video, such embassies could interview all of their applicants in a relatively short time. That is the reason why we do not consider such embassies as having performed poorly during the first quarter of this year's program. And finally, this report concerns only the first quarter of the DV 2023 program. There are still 3 quarters to consider. So we cannot look at the performance of an embassy from the first quarter and extrapolate it to the rest of the fiscal year. As we saw in the case of the DV 2022 program, there were embassies that did not perform well during the first quarter of that program, but which came alive during subsequent quarters and issued very high numbers of diversity visas. So do not consider this to be the final verdict. It is just a part of the iceberg. As we move on into the other quarters, keep your fingers crossed and hope for the best when it comes to the performance of your embassy in case your embassy did not perform well during the first quarter of this year's program. Which brings us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching it. Wish you the very best as you continue to look out for your interview notification, and I will see you, God willing, in the next video. Until then, goodbye.